Chennedy Carter just said the quiet part out loud. After months of silence, she finally responded to the infamous Caitlin Clark shove. And what she said, it's setting the internet on fire. Not only is she doubling down, she's blaming everyone else. This isn't damage control, this is a full-blown implosion. Let's break down exactly how Carter just torched her own comeback. So let's not waste time. Chennedy Carter finally broke her silence, and wow, did she take the scenic route to self-destruction. For months she refused to say Caitlin Clark's name. Reporters asked, fans begged, the WNBA tiptoed, and through it all Carter said nothing. And honestly, maybe that was the smart move, because now that she's finally spoken, the damage is beyond repair. She hopped on a live stream on Easter Sunday of all days with one of the biggest streamers online and decided it was time to clear the air. Except instead of offering clarity, she offered excuses, and not just weak ones. We're talking the kind of excuses that make your PR rep start Googling how to disappear permanently. Right off the bat, she refuses to call Caitlin Clark by name. Oh no, she just calls her somebody. You know, somebody who was apparently talking trash, somebody who supposedly elbowed her first, and somebody who got a little tap. Translation, it wasn't that serious and it wasn't my fault. Forever hold it against Chennedy Carter, no one got hurt. So I'm not gonna forever hold it against the player making a bad decision on a court. 'Cause Lord knows I did a lot of things that I'm not particularly proud of when I played ball. I am. So, like, if I don't want to be judged by some of the things I've done and said on the court, then I'm not going to do it to someone else. But, ma'am, we have the footage. This isn't Bigfoot. This isn't blurry security cam nonsense. It's in high definition from 12 angles, and it clearly shows you shoving Caitlin Clark like you were trying to knock her into next week. But Carter thinks it was just a moment in the game. A competitive thing. She literally compared it to NBA players bumping each other, casual, no biggie. She even brought up LeBron James. Because apparently if it happens in the NBA, it must be fair game in the WNBA too. Except there's a key difference. LeBron doesn't get blindsided mid-play by someone not even involved in the action. And Jeff Teague, he never tried to justify pushing a dude by saying, I hit a bucket and I was just feeling myself. Carter literally said she made a nice mid-range shot and then gave Clark a little shove to let her know she was there. Girl, what? That's not competitive fire, that's ego wrapped in denial served with a side of delusion. Then comes the line that really sets this whole dumpster ablaze. I wasn't trying to harm her. If I wanted to push somebody, you would have known. That's not a defense, that's a threat. You basically just admitted you have another level of violence you could have used but didn't. So we should be grateful. Is this your version of restraint? Let's be real, this whole just part of the game narrative is tired. Every time a player crosses the line, someone tries to rebrand it as intensity, but there's a difference between playing hard and playing dirty, and this wasn't a gray area. This was a calculated shove from someone not even in the play, who had a chip on her shoulder and used Caitlin Clark's fame as a punching bag. Literally. Now here's where it gets even messier. Carter isn't just denying blame. She's playing victim. She says people are watching every game just to criticize her, that trolls are always going to be around, that the media twisted the narrative. Okay, let's pause. You mean to tell me after assaulting the face of the league with millions watching during a broadcasted game, you're shocked that people had opinions? You're surprised that media outlets reported what happened? Girl, you're not being picked on. You're being held accountable. There's a difference. But Carter's entire tone was woe is me, as if she's the misunderstood anti-hero in a sports documentary that no one asked for. And the kicker, she actually said she loved the hate, that all the negativity fuels her. Excuse me, you love being roasted online for physically shoving a player during a game. You love trending for all the wrong reasons. You love jeopardizing your career over a hot-headed decision and then doubling down on it in front of a global audience. Congratulations. You just turned a one-time mistake into a career-defining catastrophe. Because here's the part no one seems to be saying out loud. Chennedy Carter is not on a WNBA roster. As training camps roll in, teams are passing, and it's not because she can't hoop. Everyone knows she can score. It's because nobody wants to deal with the circus. She's talented, sure, but she's also unpredictable, unaccountable, and now unfiltered on camera, justifying violence like she's narrating a highlight reel. Let's be clear, this wasn't some rookie misunderstanding. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment foul where emotions got the better of her, and she apologized afterward. This was a deliberate act followed by a months-long silence followed by a stream of excuses, and now she's shocked that she's unemployed. This is what happens when you burn bridges and then ask why no one's building you a new one. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark's over here minding her business, filling arenas, racking up endorsements and literally changing the trajectory of the league. The same league Carter now wants to be part of again. The irony is suffocating, and let's talk about how Carter thinks the media just ran wild with it. Of course they did. What did you think was going to happen when you shoved America's sweetheart in front of cameras and refused to talk about it for months? Silence doesn't prevent drama, it builds tension. And now that she's finally speaking, she's confirming everyone's worst assumptions, that she doesn't regret it, that she thinks she was provoked, that she believes the world is just too sensitive. It's not sensitivity. It's standards. The WNBA is finally getting the spotlight it deserves, and now people like Chennedy Carter are trying to muddy the moment by refusing to grow up, and worse, by trying to rewrite history on livestream like we didn't all see what happened. And let's not forget, this wasn't a regular foul. This wasn't a missed call. This was an off-ball after the play full-body shove. Even other players were shocked. Broadcasters couldn't even hide their reactions, and Carter had the nerve to call it a little tap. Ma'am, please, that little tap could have caused injury. That little tap became the centerpiece of a viral debate about violence in women's sports, and that little tap is now being framed as passion instead of what it was, unacceptable. Let's not sugarcoat it. Alright, here's part 2 of your script for This Changes Everything. Chennedy Carter justifies huge assault on Caitlin Clark. This part completes the 3,500-word body and ends with the 60-word outro you requested. The tone remains sharp, sarcastic, and fully in tune with the chaos Carter just dropped. Let's get into what this really means for Chennedy Carter moving forward. Because after this wild livestream confession, the WNBA front offices aren't going to need scouting reports. They're going to need risk assessments. No team is just looking for talent anymore. They're looking for professionalism, marketability. Someone they can trust won't end up on every sports newsreel for reasons other than playing well. And here comes Carter, turning a flashpoint into a full-on personality trait. Newsflash, this wasn't a podcast moment. This wasn't real talk. This was career suicide in real time. You know how hard it is to justify bringing someone in who not only caused one of the league's most controversial moments, but now openly doubles down on it like it's her mixtape release party. She's not just refusing to apologize. She's using the moment for clout. She's out here talking about how much she loves the noise, loves the attention, loves the hate. Sis, this isn't WWE. This isn't a heel turn. This is the WNBA. You need teammates, not taglines. And while she's talking about how everybody gets pushed, Caitlin Clark is pushing jersey sales, ticket revenue, and TV deals. So yeah, one of you is playing the game. The other is playing herself. Now let's talk about the WNBA's reaction, or lack thereof. After the shove happened, the league issued a penalty and moved on like it was just another day. But fans didn't forget. Neither did the media, and definitely not the executives. Because when a league is on the brink of a breakthrough, the last thing it wants is drama that overshadows progress. This isn't the early 2000s, where bad behavior could be swept under the rug if you were good enough on the court. In today's world, everything is visible, everything is viral, and everything, especially everything you say on camera, will be used in context and out of it. Carter could have used this moment to reset, to own it. Even a simple "I let the moment get to me and I've learned from it" would have gone miles. But no, she gave us the everyone else was mean first routine like a 7th grader in detention, trying to explain why she threw a pencil across the room. There's levels to this, and Carter just dropped down 3 of them. And the fans, they're not stupid. Twitter/X lit up the second that livestream clip hit. People were stunned. Not by the shove, we already saw that, but by the arrogance in her explanation. She didn't just avoid accountability, she treated it like it was beneath her. Comments poured in. Wait, she still thinks that was okay. She's out here gaslighting the entire league. Bro, is she trolling? And here's the thing. Some fans wanted to forgive her. Some people were ready to move on. But you can't move on when the person responsible is still acting like she did the right thing. You know who has moved on though? Caitlin Clark. She hasn't said a word about the incident in months. She's kept her head down, played the game, and let her performance speak. That's what professionalism looks like. That's what maturity looks like. That's what star power looks like. Meanwhile, Carter is out here rambling on live streams about somebody yelling in my face and comparing a hip check to highlight reels of LeBron James being annoyed. Girl, no. Just, no. You can't rewrite what happened. No matter how many times you say I didn't mean harm, intention doesn't erase impact. And this isn't a pickup game at LA Fitness. This is a league trying to grow into the spotlight it deserves. The WNBA finally has eyes on it. For real. People are watching, engaging, buying, tweeting, subscribing, and this is the time Chennedy Carter chooses to go off script and say the most unhinged defense of an assault in modern women's basketball history. And let's be honest, this wasn't some random fringe player doing this. This is someone who could have been a cornerstone for a franchise. Carter had the talent, the confidence, the skill set, but now, she's radioactive. Teams are going to look at this interview, shake their heads and say, we're good, because talent alone doesn't cut it anymore, not when there are rookies lining up who can ball and be the face of a brand, not when you've got players who can give post-game interviews without needing a damage control team behind them. Carter's excuses aren't just flimsy, they're revealing. They show someone who hasn't grown, hasn't learned, and worst of all hasn't realized that she's not the victim here. She shoved a player, on live TV, got fined, got benched, got called out, and now, she wants sympathy for being misunderstood. Sorry, but no one's buying that narrative. Now let's zoom out. The real problem here isn't just Carter's meltdown, it's the effect this has on the culture of the league. Because when younger players see this behavior go unchecked, they think it's okay. And when media platforms reward this chaos with clicks and interviews, it sends the message that you don't need to be great, you just need to be loud. But being loud only works when you're winning. Being loud only works when you've got a fan base, a highlight reel and some postseason credibility to back it up. Carter's got none of that right now. All she has is a bad moment and an even worse explanation. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark continues doing what Carter can't, letting the game speak. Clark doesn't need to justify herself. She doesn't need to clap back. She doesn't need to drop hot takes on live streams. She's too busy building something. And the WNBA sees that. The fans see that. Even the haters, deep down they see it too. So where does this leave Chennedy Carter? At a crossroads. One path leads to redemption. It's quieter. It takes humility. It requires doing the work without the spotlight and letting her game and only her game do the talking. The other path, she's already on it. It's louder, more chaotic, filled with excuses, finger pointing, and now public begging. She's not building a legacy. She's building a warning label. And that's the saddest part. Because once upon a time Carter could have been great. She could have been one of the faces of the league. But instead of leveling up, she went live and gave us a front row seat to her own implosion. Chennedy Carter said her piece, and it might have cost her everything. Justifying an assault doesn't just change public opinion, it changes your career.